John Twist of University Motors. Today we're going to talk about gas tanks. But before we do that, I want to thank everyone who's made comments on YouTube about the videos and how nice they are and so forth. I appreciate all the comments. Some people don't like the way I do things. That's fine. Let me tell you, I've been doing it for a while, and what I do seems to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling everybody to do it that way. And I'm not a poser. I do have dirty hands. I appreciated that comment a lot. Anyway, here are two of the 3 MGB gas tanks. I don't have the last one, although it's very, very nearly this one. So this tank is the same from about 64, 65 when they come up with this style. The earlier style is a strap tank, not unlike an MGA tank. This one they use up through 1969. In fact, this is a 1969 removed from an MGC. So we cut the tops off them so we can see what's inside. Well, the top is easy, okay? It's just got a filler hole. It's as easy as that. On the inside, we have our pickup. It's got a filter screen on it, which comes off with great difficulty, as you can see. And it's welded into the side of the tank. I mean, there's just no way to get down in here and clean it out. If it does become plugged, sometimes you can push air back through here, blow some stuff off it, but that stuff's just gonna eventually grab back a hold of it. And then the sending unit comes in the side here. Use the ARA 1501 and ARA 1502. Those are not MOS numbers, those are our factory numbers for the sending unit. You can see that you got baffles in here. So why are there baffles? And that's a question. I don't have an absolute answer on that. Why are there baffles? Is it to cut down on the noise as you go around corners? Maybe. Is it to protect the sending unit who's got a float on an arm? There's a lot of mass here, and when it sloshes back and forth, it's going to wreak havoc with that little tiny arm on the sending unit. If that's important, then why don't all replacement tanks have baffles? Well, because of cost. But should they? Should you hold out for a tank that has baffles? I don't have an answer to this. Here's one more interesting thing on this tank. See the burn here? So Quentin, I don't know if this is when Quentin owned the car or before he got the car, but he backed over something, hit something hard on the bottom, and tore a hole in the bottom of the tank, and someone welded it up. Now, I tell you, welding gas tanks is kind of like trying to make an atom bomb in your basement. It's really, really dangerous. Don't ever work with a torch around a gas tank. You're just asking for trouble. These things are bombs. They can be empty. This thing has been empty for, I don't know how long. But if we put a torch to the back side of this, where it's rusty, which it isn't, but if there's rust down in here, we can get it to flame up. It's absolutely dry, but the gasoline becomes part of that rust matrix. And when you heat it up, it releases the gasoline. Maybe we'll do that at the end for one of those outtakes, So anyway, that's this style of tank. Then from 1970 through 1980, we no longer vent the tank through the gas cap. On this one, I should have done this here before. On this one, you put the fuel in, and there's a hole in the filler cap. It can vent so that when you put in cold gasoline in August and go out and park on the tarmac and it's 100 degrees out there and the gasoline expands, the air and fuel mixture sitting on top of the gasoline vents out the filler. By 1970, the federal government, driven by the state of California, said you can't do that anymore, and we have to trap all those fumes. From 1970 through 1980, we've got the charcoal canisters. that are hooked up to this little fitting here. That's where the charcoal canister is hooked to on the later tanks. Where does that go? It goes to this little squished pipe right here at the top, and it's very difficult to get gasoline up into here. Now what sits on here is this tank. So it's just a tank, and of course we have to imagine that this is all upside down, but this guy sits in here, something like that. I drilled it out so we could take the thing off. And then the top of this tank is a pinhole. Let me tell you, that is a pinhole. That's something like 8/1000ths of an inch, if that, in diameter. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. So that when you're filling up the tank and the fuel starts to run into here, then the air inside this can is able to vent out, and when you start using gasoline, then the air comes from the charcoal canister and comes into here and is able to replace the fuel inside the tank. We're down to one baffle here, because this guy is here. We have the same pickup tube. This tank was hit pretty hard also. This came off my daughter's car, which lies in the background. But it's not uncommon to find, I don't know how good we can see these dents, but those are some pretty massive dents. All you have to do is jack up the car incorrectly. And I was advised by one of the people on one of my videos about jacking the car that yes, you can jack the back first. I've done that, and I've lost a radiator, so I'm not keen on jacking the back end of the car first when it slips. Anyway, you can back up over a parking abutment, or a jack can slip, something like that. The later tanks, 1977 through 1980, look exactly like this on the inside. But instead of the pickup tube being welded to the side, it comes off the sending unit. That's kind of cool, because every time you change the sending unit, you can change the filter screen, or you can get the filter screen out and you can actually clean it out, which you should never really have to do. But you can see there's some rust. There's some rust that's developed in here. When did that happen? Probably after the tank came out of the car. But if the tank sits empty for a while, it's pretty easy to end up with a lot of rust on the inside of the tank. It used to be you could take the tanks and boil them in caustic soda and then put some compound on the inside that was called slushing compound. Still do that on T-types where the gas tank is $800 or $1,000 and they don't quite fit like the original ones. So it makes sense sometimes when you have a T-type gas tank repaired, they cut a square right out of the back, just like cutting this out. Now it's in a shop and they know what they're doing. Please don't do it yourself. Anyway, they cut it out, they can sandblast the inside of the tank, clean it out, put that back in, weld it back up, and then use that slushing compound on the inside. For MGB tanks, if there's any question at all, just buy another tank. One thing I discovered on the replacement tank for my daughter's car is that there's this flange around the side here, this flange. Well, the flange on the new tank comes out to about here. No big deal, except that the rear of the leaf spring comes up to the shackle about right here, and getting the lock nut and the nut onto the shackle with that extra lip was really difficult. So just a word of caution, if you're buying a new tank and the lip is a lot wider, you can cut it off and grind it off with a grinder, as long as you don't have gasoline in there first. So anyway, that's my discussion for today. No animals were injured or killed or maimed during this video, and we'll put the vivisection off into another video. Anyway, thank you very much. Be sure to visit my website, universitymotorsltd.com, and put your name into the top ribbon where it says join our newsletter, and I will send you a constant contact email the next time that we have a Zoom session. So until then, safety fast.